Now, in this panel, we're going to look at reaching out and coping with lockdown. We're talking once more about positive coping strategies that can help you. We're actually going to two older people as well, and they don't mind being called older. What's the point? Why would we even bother to worry about that? And we've also got information on Cork County Council age-friendly services and support services. Our speakers are Niall Healy, who's Director of Services of Cork County Council and also Chair of Age Friendly Alliance. We have Liz Maddox, Chair of Cork County Council Older People's Council, and Liz Downes, who's the Vice Chair of Cork County Older People's Council. And needless to say, you're all very welcome. And I'm so delighted and relieved that here we have women who don't mind saying they're older. Liz, I believe you're going to tell us how old you are.
I am 71 years.
Woohoo!
My body is 71, but my mind is 21.
That's a very, very naughty mind.
Yes.
You're some girl.
Yeah.
Have manners. Well, we're not going to talk about such things today, although, of course, I'm sure they do matter. Tell me exactly what you do with this council for older people.
Well, we have a care programme in place at the moment, and we bring that programme back into our communities. And the care programme, it goes C-A-R-E. Care is for to consider, A is to assist, R is to respect, and E is to empathise. And all of that means to the business people and to the community in general that to look after the older people when they go out in the community after cocooning.
Well, wait now. The cocooning is finished. You had to cocoon.
I was cocooning for I suppose, until the guidelines said that I could go out.
How did you find it?
I found it very good in the sense. Now, initially, I didn't like it because I work 14 hours a week in Tesco. So I was used to facilitating and meeting people at all times. So the next thing here I was sitting at home, twirling my thumbs, and I thought, how is this going to work?
And so many people watching this today were in the same position. And we're hoping now that when we go, and if we go, and we don't know, if we go to another stage, that hopefully that won't happen.
No.
What advice do you have to give, though, for people who want to be careful and stay at home? Not cocooning, but just being careful.
Well, I think, you have to stay with the normal routine that you had beforehand. Because we're in a new world now and we have to face it. So I think what's very important for some people who may feel very isolated or who may be living alone, just make a diary of your everyday routine. Keep track of what you're doing and even write down everything about yourself, about when you were going to school, when you left school, when you went out in the workplace, and have all of that ready for your grandchildren, because it's important that the grandchildren know how you did at the time of COVID-19. And they can look back at years and say, well, my nana did this and my nana did that. And I think that's very important.
So a daily diary of how they're actually feeling. It's really about feelings and also activities, is that
Exactly. It's about how they're feeling, and also give themselves a rota. Like get up in the morning, like I get up in the morning now, and the first thing I do is wash myself and put on a bit of perfume and maybe put on a bit of jewellery. Keep to the basics that you normally would have done. And don't have anything different. And that would cheer you up in itself. Then look out the window and say, oh, thank God I'm alive today.
Well, you know what? That's a very important one, isn't it?
Yeah.
That we take it for granted. Sometimes we wake up and we think...
Yeah.
And also, by the way, I should have said maybe, I've been asked to join in the chat with you today. Yeah. I think it's so important. It's what I call gratitude.
Yeah.
That you get up in the morning and you say, the first thing I'm going to be grateful for today is my breath.
Exactly.
Hey ho, I'm alive.
Exactly. And
how wonderful that is.
Yeah, and I think as well, what COVID did for me was I took stance of where I am today. Sometimes we go through life so quickly and, we're in a busy world that we just don't stop and think and thank God for everything we have.
Well, I think that's a very positive thing to do. Thanking God. And if you don't believe in God, I always say thank the universe.
Exactly.
And if you think the universe has no power, just thank anyway, because it's a nice feeling, that softness in your heart to feel grateful.
Exactly,
Niall,
feel happy about it.
Feel happy about it if you can. Not easy for everybody.
No.
Niall, Chair of the Age Friendly Alliance, what is that?
BB, it's a group that was formed a number of years ago, and it brings together all of the key stakeholders that would have, I suppose, a remit in terms of delivering research, delivering public services. So in practical terms, it's a group of about 15 people, which include representatives from the Older People's Council, but also from stakeholders that deliver public services. So for example, the HSE, a number of different representatives from the HSE, Bus Éireann, Cork Institute of Technology, UCC. There's a range of different voices around the table. And
so are you sort of in between, do I understand it right? In between, say, if Cork County Council are going to design and plan some new houses, maybe for social housing or whatever it might be, do you go in there into the middle and say, well, I've been talking to the older people and I know this is what they want?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a key part of it. It's about, I suppose, first of all, listening to the voice of the older person, understanding it, understanding the impact of various different issues that might be important, and then trying to, I suppose, redesign our policy, because obviously as a local authority we develop policies in relation to planning, in relation to housing, in relation to environment, but we can do that now with the voice of the older person being given prominence. And indeed, as we follow through in that as a local authority, how we deliver our own services changes then as well. Because we can accommodate the issues that are identified by the older person.
And of all the voices, excuse me, of all the voices that you're representing, is there one or two, perhaps in particular, that needs a lot more attention than the others, do you find?
I suppose, it's very, easy to identify what are the common issues, and we're very conscious of our role as a local authority in providing services that are accessible to all. And as we know, the whole age demographic in the world around us is changing, and we know that in 10 years' time, 20 years' time, we're going to have a lot more people aged over 65. So it's time to plan for that now. So we're planning for that through policy, and we're planning for it in terms of how we deliver.
Let's just transfer all that very important knowledge into a practical sphere. If we take transport, for example, what sort of thing do you do in the transport field?
Yeah, I suppose ultimately it's the Bus Éireann would be a key player in that regard, and Bus Éireann are represented on our age-friendly alliance. So we've, I suppose, been listening to concerns maybe in relation to how footpaths are designed, in relation to how seating at bus stops is designed, and accessibility in terms of the transport infrastructure itself.
And accessibility there, let's not take that for granted, because I found, for example, if I order a taxi and it calls to pick me up, and it's one of those big Jeeps, are they called 4x2s? My God, trying to get up to get in. And they have no sympathy much, I suppose. Do you look at practical things
These are practical issues, yeah, and we will look at all of those issues. Some are within our direct scope as a local authority to respond to.
Yeah.
And, examples would be recently now we've been discussing the whole issue of seating at bus stops, and if it's pitched too low, it may be far too low for people to get up comfortably from. There might be no arm supports to help in getting up.
And another thing, if you're a bigger girl or boy, you can't be doing with those little narrow seats. You just can't.
Yeah.
It doesn't accommodate the posterior.
Yeah, that's it, that's it.
I hope you look into those now.
Yeah, and we're looking into that. And, very simple measures that, over the last 2 years have been developed is pedestrian crossings. And, when you come to a pedestrian crossing or you press the traffic lights, it gives you a certain timing to cross the road. But very often that doesn't take into consideration the fact that some people have mobility challenges and it'll take them longer to cross. So we've reprogrammed our traffic lights and key pedestrian crossings in some of our towns to take that into account, and it's been very well received from the point of view of the older
very,
person.
very practical issues there. And Liz, you're nodding in agreement. You're also Vice Chair of the Older People's Council.
Chair.
Which of those issues do you feel are very important ones from your own experience of being out and about in the community?
As Chair of Cork Older People's Council, first of all, we're a team. Liz and I, we work very well together, but not forgetting in the room is a team of people from every community. I have the opportunity as Chair to sit on the Alliance meetings. I have the opportunity with Cork County Council to be involved in the COVID-19 community support group at the moment. I think it's very important for the older person to be in the room as we started COVID-19, and there was the issues of cocooning. That meant that there was shopping, there was medication, There was Meals on Wheels. You know, we literally had a very fast, everyone's locked in. But as far as the Older People's Council was concerned, and Cork County Council,
Can we just go back there for a minute to the shopping one? Because I think at the start we were all very aware of the fact that the major supermarkets all encouraged us older folk to go at a certain time. I have never heard any reports that that worked really well. How about you? Have you heard?
Well, it was a mission of mine not to set times with the feedback from the older people. You know, older people, they have their home helps in at between, say, 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock. So if a supermarket says, well, if you're elderly, you can come and shop at 9, or you're a family carer, you can come and shop at 9. In practical terms, that is not feasible. So we had the community guards on board, we had the GAA on board, we had restaurants, and everybody kind of worked together to make sure that was easy.
What did the GAA do?
They delivered the Meals on Wheels in many areas, and the community guards are still on board, even in my own community today. They're still delivering Meals on Wheels, because even though we're at the stage cocooning is gone, for the elderly, they, you know, fair play to them, they have to be praised in the sense that they are probably the most sensible out there right now. They've already cocooned, and so to be back out, they're now taking care of themselves in ways that other people should be respecting and listening to them. You know, and we set up the care programme, as Liz said. Care, we had C for Care, A for Assist, R for Respect, and E for Empathise. And that was when the elderly people started to come back out into the community, to encourage the community, to help them of a fear they had, because don't forget, they were cocooning.
I noticed myself just a few days ago in Cork City, and I would rarely go in if I don't have to, in truth. But, you know, it was all us older folks who had the masks on.
Yeah.
And the younger folks, I think they feel they're never going to die and they're never going to get sick. My God, can you imagine what that used to be like? Niall, just back to you for a moment. COVID-19 Response Forum and Helpline, what's that?
Bibi, that was an initiative that was set up in late March to ensure, I suppose, that there was coordination and integration of the response by all the various different agencies to the challenges presented by COVID-19. So the response forum comprised about 40 people, and included within that, again, are representatives from the Older Persons Council and the Age Friendly Alliance. So this was about understanding the impacts of COVID-19 and in the initial stages, you know, dealing with issues like, for example, the cocooning and the impact that that was having on the older person. And a range of responses were delivered. We've had some very innovative responses. For example, I think earlier on this morning, one of my colleagues mentioned the book delivery service for the housebound. And that's a service that was a direct response to COVID and has been extremely well received, because it allowed people to stay in their homes but to be entertained with research and reading material and so on.
Indeed, we were talking about that just earlier. Finally, Liz, if you had one piece of positivity to give to everybody who's watching us today, what would that one piece be? You've been through the cocooning, and look at you with a smile on your face, and putting on your jewellery and everything else, which is the way to go. One piece.
What I would suggest is that they keep track of everything they're doing. And, you know, write down everything, because I think we're losing out on a lot of the old traditions. And the older people have those, like myself. You know, I remember reading Alice Taylor's book, Going Through the Fields.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, I could relate to all that. But my children couldn't relate to all that. They wouldn't have known what happened at that time. So I think it's important. And at the moment, my friend and myself, we're doing an e-book. And it's about our guiding activities and how we, what we did years ago when we joined the Girl Guides. And,
fantastic.
And, you know, so that's what I would encourage people. Like,
I can see it in the future, your blockbuster coming up. My years in COVID-19 and how I survived them.
Well, I hope my grandchildren will do that, because, you know, it is important. And everybody has something to talk about. And, you know, everybody have a skill. And to bring that skill out while you're cocooning or while you're at home, and you know, take on a new skill as well, you know.
Okay, that sounds very positive. And I'm just going to add in one thing. I think connection is very important. Get on to FaceTime, pick up the old-fashioned phone if necessary, and contact me on social media, and I will contact you back. I'm an all the platforms.
Yes.
Stay connected, I say.
Exactly, and I think this Zoom is brilliant for people my age as well and older.
There's no stopping you, girl.
There's no. So,
Liz, we have to leave it there. And
Thank you
Liz
very
and
much.
Niall, thank you all so very much.
Thank you very much, Bibi.
Bibi.
Thank you.